Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel, and as always, it's an honor and privilege to come before you to give you another edifying lesson. Today is no different. Today is a Savory Sunday, where we do what? Break down the Most High's commandments and give our brothers and sisters a better understanding of the commandments than they had yesterday. We teach you how to keep them and the consequences of not keeping the commandments. And before we get started, we want to give our honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai being his son, who the world calls Christ. Through his strength, sacrifice, and example, we are all able to be here today to be uplifted and edified in the spirit. So I appreciate you, brothers and sisters, who are tuning in and who, Lord willing, will tune in. But nonetheless, this is another Savory Sunday, so welcome, and let's get on into it. Today's class is going to be dealing with what? The year of release. The year of the release. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people have never heard of these things, and some of you may have. And the world actually has taken a version of the year of release and actually twisted it, and they call it by another name, mainly the statute of limitation. But we're going to dive into it. We're going to bring out some precepts, give you some clarity on the situation or on the law that the Most High commands us to have or to apply day in and day out. But nonetheless, welcome. And we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start off with Sirach chapter 35, verse 1. And the main reason why we do these classes, as explained earlier, is to help our brothers and sisters understand the law, statutes, and commandments, to break down the laws that we forsake as a nation of people, and give us some clarity on these things. And by doing so, we become a sweet smelling savor to the Most High by keeping his commandments. So that's what we aim to do with Savory Sundays. All right, so we're going to start off with the book of Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach in the Apocrypha, chapter 35, verse 1. And it reads, "He that keepeth the law bringeth offering enough. He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering." So when we take heed and keep the commandments, we are offering a peace offering between ourselves and the Most High. When we keep the commandments. When we do not keep the commandments, we bring forth chaos, anger, the Lord's wrath. So that's why I said, he that keepeth the law bringeth offering enough. When we do the things that we need, it's no need for an offering, because we're being obedient. The offering, the sacrifice is actually made for an atonement of sin, But when we do the things that's needed, there's no need to make sacrifice, you see? All right, verse 2, it said, "He that requiteth a good turn offereth fine flour, and he that giveth alms sacrificeth praise." So when you do the things that's needed, that's just like baking that fine flour, that cake for the Most High. That, when you walk in the house and you smell a cake baking, that's a good savory smell to the Lord. Verse 3, "Depart from wickedness." To depart from wickedness is a thing pleasing to the Lord, and to forsake unrighteousness is a propitiation. So to depart from wickedness is a thing that's pleasing to the Lord. To continue on is the opposite of that. That's hate, and that's anger from the Most High. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Lord said he hate Esau, because he forsakes righteousness, but he loves unrighteousness, But he poses to be in a position as if he's righteous, but he actually promotes unrighteousness in his society that he actually rules over right now. Let's look up that word propitiation right quick, because that's not a word that the majority of us use. So we're going to look that up right quick. Just give us a clear understanding as to what it means. The action of propitiation or appeasing a God, spirit, or a person. Atonement. All right. Atonement. Get another definition. All right. The act of gaining or regaining the favor or goodwill of someone or something. Appeasement. All right. So to depart from wickedness is a thing that's pleasing to the Lord. And to forsake unrighteousness, meaning to turn away from it, to forget about unrighteousness, is a thing that's well pleasing to the Lord. Thou shalt not appear empty before the Lord, for all these things are to be done because of the commandment. So we're supposed to keep the commandment. Commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments. It's our job as Israelites to keep the commandments, to be that shining light, that example on to the rest of the other nations and to ourselves to represent the Most High on earth, you know. So when we keep the commandments, we become a sweet smelling savor to the Most High. So understand that. All right. So where we want to go now is to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15. Make sure you're taking notes and following along, because it's paramount that we as a nation of people learn the laws, rehearse the righteous acts. Learn the laws and rehearse the righteous acts. Not just to learn that you're an Israelite and continue moving in the fashion of this world. That's asinine. That's backwards. It makes no sense. You know, you have to separate yourself from the ways of this world. And that's what we aim to do with these Savory Sundays. So we at the book of Deuteronomy chapter 15, and we're going to start at verse 1. And it reads, at the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. So at the end of every 7 years, you're supposed to make what? A release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth out unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. You see that? So that's going into, just say you owe a debt to somebody and you working it, trying to pay it off or whatnot. The same way you take loans from these financial institutions or from these banks, you know, you take money, you take loans, whatever, and you try working it off, paying it back. The Lord say on that 7th year, that's the year of release where you're supposed to let that go. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, you're supposed to let it go. All right. Read verse 3. It says, of a foreigner, thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release. So he's saying of the nation of Israel, because that's who the laws were given to, the nation of Israel. The matter of fact, let me prove that right quick. Let me go to Psalms 147. I believe that's it. If I can get there. I might have picked the wrong one. Yeah, that's the wrong one. That's wrong. Paraphrase. But it basically goes into how the Lord chose us as a nation to give. He gave his commandments to Jacob and to Israel, but the other nations, they have not known them. I got to find that. Bear with me, Israel. I don't like to speak on things I can't pull the scripture with. I can't believe that. Let me get that right quick. Psalm 147. Trip. Right. Go to Psalm 147. Verse 20. I start at 19. And it reads, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Verse 20, he have not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So we understand by reading it that the law, statutes, and commandments were given to who? The nation of Israel. You know, let's go get another precept. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44. Excuse me. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies, statutes, and judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. So the Bible is written to the nation of Israel, you know. So we understand through the precepts who the Bible is speaking to. But the Lord was telling us in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 1, that every 7 years thou shalt make a release. And if somebody owes something, every creditor that lendeth out to his neighbor, meaning his people, on the 7th year, he's supposed to let it go because it's the Lord's release. But of a foreigner, meaning of the other nation, thou mayest exact it again. But that which is thine with thine brother, thine hand shall release. Save, meaning except when shall be no poor among you. For the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. All right. Shalaki. For the Lord thy God blesseth thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. So this was conditional. If we kept the commandments, if we applied the law, statutes, and commandments, that we would be able to lend unto these other nations, and we would not borrow. And we would reign over many nations, but they should not rule over us. But obviously that's not the case. So because we broke the commandments, we have other nations ruling over us. We have other nations that still do what? Hold statue or not statue, but they hold credits and debts over our heads, you know, because we don't keep the commandments. Verse 7, if there be among you a poor man or one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him some sufficient for his need, and that which he wanteth. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thy eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be sin unto thee. You see that? So what we want to do right now is show you the difference between us keeping this law and what happened when we don't keep this law. Right now, what we reading about is how on the 7th year we supposed to be released from whatever debt that we owe, you know. But here in this society, everything is flipped upside down because we don't want to be in order. This earth is out of order, you know, and that's Psalms 82 and 5, you know, for those who don't know. But, excuse me. For instance, here in this society, you got a thing called statute of limitations, you know. It's a statute prescribing a period of limitation from or for the beginning of a certain kinds of legal action. You know, you got certain different things like certain crimes they say that you can't be tried for again, or after being tried, you can't be tried for it again. Or, you know, if you owe some type of debt, it's supposed to be wiped off your credit after a certain amount of time. But these things are not so here in this land because they do the things that we were supposed to be doing in opposite fashion. And what I mean by that, and when we read the scripture, let me back up right quick. It says in verse 3, Deuteronomy 15 and 3, of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release. So if a brother of our or a sister of our own nation owed a debt and they worked for us trying to work it off. Came that 7th year, we supposed to let that debt go. You know what I'm saying? And not bring it up again, not hold it over their head. None of that. You're supposed to let it go, release it, you know. But what actually happens when we broke that commandment? We gave that power over to the other nations. You know what I'm saying? So we go to them now and want of all things for food, for water, for clothing, and for financial gain. Just to be able to thrive in this society, we go to our enemies. And they do the complete opposite, or they actually follow that commandment to a degree. Because we lend or we borrow from them and they lend to us. We strive to pay it off in a certain amount of time according to whatever contract that we sign. But it also gets to a point where when you can't pay that debt after that time frame, or you don't pay it at all, after them 6-7 years go by, they still are liable to hold these things over your head. And because we then become the stranger, you know what I'm saying? And a perfect example of that would be with credit collections. Can a debt collector restart the clock on my old debt? Says, keep in mind that making a partial payment or acknowledging that you owe an old debt, even after the statute of limitations expire, may restart the time period. And it will restart that time period. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they are constantly harassing you when you supposed to pay them money. They blowing your phone up, sending you letters in the mail. You know, trying to sue you and whatnot. They do these things because they got a time frame. But in the midst of you trying to duck and dodge like most of us do because we don't have the ends to pay these folks, you know, but in the midst of them doing so, they constantly calling you. The minute that they get you on the phone and acknowledge who you are, you know what I'm saying, the clock restarts again. You know what I'm saying? So it might be 10 years down the road, but somebody picked that debt up and they calling your name and calling you on the phone, and you answer and acknowledge who you are. And you start talking about this case or this charge that you had. Hey, that clock gonna restart. Now somebody else can picked up that debt. You know what I'm saying? And it just keeps going and keeps going. And you be like, damn, I thought that's past 7 years. It's supposed to be statute of limitation. The year release, what's going on? Because we don't keep the commandments, these things happen to us. And in the opposite fashion, as we just read. Of a foreigner, thou mayest exact it again. But that which is thine with thy brother, thy hand shall release. So if it's our people, we release it. But if it was other nations, we would be able to exact it again, keep bringing it up until they pay it off, you know. But because we don't want to follow the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua, the foreigner now have that power over us. Now we have been brought low and they ruling over us. And they going to continue to exact our debts over our head over and over and over again. Understand that. So I just want to bring that out right quick to show you something. Also, where is it? Well, just wanted to bring out the point that certain things do not fall off your credit, you know, and those things would be child support, alimony, and taxes. Those things will never fall off of your credit. Understand that. They will not fall off your credit, so you can't duck and dodge that. You can try all you want, but those things will never fall off your credit. So that'll have a lot of us jammed up because of those three things: taxes, child support, and alimony. Those things will not fall off of your credit. Understand that. Regardless of what Esau talking about, statute of limitation, they will not fall off. All right. So going back to Deuteronomy chapter 15, we're going to go back to verse 9. It says, beware that thou be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thy eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not. And he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be sent unto thee. And what is the Lord talking about? You don't give him not. You givest him not. Let's read on. Thou shalt surely give him, and thy heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works and in all that thou puttest thy hand to. Why? Because that man is coming to you to work for you, to work off debt. And over that time frame, he should accumulate some things. You know what I'm saying? While working that debt off with you. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna skip down to verse 12. And if thy brother, a Hebrew man and a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. Now, this ain't saying they being sold unto you like a slave. No, this is like indentured servitude. They coming to work off a debt. Hey man, I know I owe you. Let me work that off. You know, we do that today. You know, this is why we going into that class or going into this topic. You know, so he served you 6 years, she served you 6 years, and that 7th year you're supposed to let that debt go. All right, verse 13. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy stock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. And that's the same thing that you read about when you read about Jacob, when he was laboring for Laban, for Leah and Rachel. He labored 7 years for each one of his daughters, 14 years. So you think that man was going, or Jacob was going to leave there empty-handed? No, he worked for that man for 14 years. He had both his daughters for wives, and he had children with him. So he left there free of charge, but he brought also out with cattle and riches as well, because he was blessed while he was there working for this man. All right. All right, where we going? Let's go to verse 15. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command this thing today. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee, and thine house, because he is well with thee. So if this man is serving, this maid woman who is working for you, they don't want to leave because they got it good living with you, you know. Just like a good example would be Jeffrey on the Fresh Prince. He living good there. You know what I'm saying? He got a good bond with the family. You know what I'm saying? They treat him right. He got respect. You know, he didn't want to go there. He stayed there. They didn't force him to stay there. He chose to stay there. All right. Moving on, it said verse 17. When they don't want to leave, then thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever, and also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. So if they didn't want to leave, they wanted to stay with you forever and work for you, hey, you would take an awl. Let's see if we can find out what the awl is. All right, it says an iron instrument for piercing small holes in leather, for sewing and stitching. So you would actually take this awl and put it to their ear to the door. There you go, right there. Kind of something similar to what they use today to pierce the ears, or what they used to use in time past. An awl. All right. And thou shalt take an awl and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. Now, that's a hell of a statement right there when you think about it. That somebody would work for you for 6 years, and on the 7th year, when the law said you can let them go for free and let them go with they would not leave out empty. So you would basically set them straight to go out there and live a life that a person would turn around and say, I don't want to do that. I want to serve you. I want to continue to work for you. That's a hell of a statement. That lets you know that there's scripture is true. When the righteous rule or in rulership, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in rule, the people mourn. You know, these laws are designed for a righteous people. So when we do the things that's required, hey, people would love to work for us. You know what I'm saying? That's why we even had the heathen of the other nation when we be out on the highways and byways teaching, and we saying, hey, y'all going into captivity. You know, and they accepted. They were like, hey, we got to do what we got to do. We had you guys in captivity, and you guys will probably do us better than we did y'all. You know, they ready to go into captivity. They understand they got to go, but they would rather serve us because they know that we righteous and they know that they wicked as hell. Think about that. This is a law for a righteous people. And when we keep the commandments, we are righteous. Think about that. For a servant to say, I want to serve you for the rest of my life, go on, put that all in my ear next to the door. I'm here. I'm going to hold it down for you. You got to be a righteous brother and sister for that to happen. Think about that. Verse 18. It shall not seem hard unto thee when thou sendest him away free from thee, for he have been worth a double hired servant to thee, in serving 6 years. These 6 years, and the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all that thou doest. So when you do right by these folks, they come to work for you, the Lord gonna make sure you straight. Understand that. The year of release. Let's get another example of that. Let's go to the book of Exodus right quick. Let's go to Exodus chapter 21. Book of Exodus chapter 21. We're gonna start at verse 1 and read to 6. It said, now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons and daughters, the wife and her children shall be her masters, and he shall go out by himself. So if this guy who was sold unto you came in by himself, he gonna leave by himself. If he came married with a wife, they gonna leave together. But if he came to work and you gave him a wife and he had sons and daughters, guess what? Those children belong to the man in charge. Why? Because that man was taking care of all of them while they were staying there. And that would be another reason why a brother or a sister would want to stay with a family that was actually taken care of. You know, verse 5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. Once again, this is where the awl is. So we will put that to the ear onto the door and hit that, you know, to pierce that. Think about that. So that was the law, statutes, and commandments concerning it, you know, the year of release. Now, let's go get a basic principle behind that. Why would the Lord call that the year of release on the 7th day or the 7th year? Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished and all the host of them. And on the 7th day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And Yahweh blessed the 7th day and sanctified it. And because in that he had rested from all his work which Yahweh created and made. So talking about the Sabbath day, talking about the 7th day, symbolic to the year of release, because they've been working. That servant has been working 6 years, constantly trying to pay off their debt, whatever is owed. So on that 7th year, it's supposed to be a year of release. Just like the 7th day of the week is supposed to be a day of release of work. No work. Even though a lot of our brothers and sisters still break that, still go against the day or the year of release, the day of release, it's still a commandment. You know what I'm saying? So just bringing that out to show you that that's symbolic to the Sabbath day. Now I'm going to give you another example. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 25. We're going to start at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, not the whole world, but the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. So the land even has a Sabbath. Let's read about it. We're reading about the land Sabbath. Verse 3, Leviticus 25 and 3. 6 years shalt thou sow thy field, and 6 years shalt thou prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for your Lord. Thou shalt not sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. So that right there is letting you know when we have our land, it's supposed to be a year, the 7th year being on that land, that we're supposed to let it go and don't plant nothing. You know what I'm saying? Giving the land a time to breathe, rest, recoup, regenerate, you know. In the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. So when you're supposed to be out there, for an example, you got a farm, you got farmland, a field, you ain't supposed to go out there just every year continually. Every 7th year on that, well, every 6th year, on that 7th year, you're supposed to let the land rest. You know, let the land rest. So if you got a garden at your house, guess what? You're supposed to do what? Let that rest on the 7th year, you know. So within them 6 years, you're supposed to be doing what? Stocking up so that you can have that food to last you over that year during that Sabbath. The same way you would do during the week. You go get everything you need before that Sabbath so you don't go out shopping and buying and cooking your food on the Sabbath. Same principle. You give it rest. Get a land rest so it can regroup, recoup, regather all the minerals that's missing, that have been farmed out of it. The land has a Sabbath. Verse 5. That which groweth of its own accord of the harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of the vine undressed, for it is the year of the rest into the land. So if you had some land and just you didn't plant none, but it's still fruit growing up, hey, you ain't supposed to harvest it. Leave it be. See that? That's how we're supposed to be doing according to our land. Reading on. Verse 6, and the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with you. You know, but just letting you know that there is a land Sabbath as well, a year of release, the 7th year of release. So, brothers and sisters, you got your own land. Hey, you've been living in that house for 6 years. The next year coming up, if you've been planting gardens and whatnot in that land, hey, you got to let that land rest on the 7th year. If your brother owe you debt on the 7th year, you're supposed to let that debt go. You know, this is the year of release. I'm not saying this year is, but there is a year of release. Understand that. But let me see. Was it one more I had? Let me go to check this out right quick. That's not what I want. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 9. Book of Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 9. And Moses wrote this law and delivered it unto the priests, the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, at the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the feast of tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. Gather the people together, men, women, and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear, and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and observe to do all the words of this law. And that their children, which have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as ye live in the land whither ye go over the joy to possess it. So these things are supposed to be taught about the year of release, especially during the time of tabernacles, in the year of release, so that the men, women, and children will understand what's going on and how to fear the Lord. You know, but these things are not being taught, not being discussed. So in the 7th year, hey, during the tabernacle, we're supposed to be bringing this out and edifying the people, letting them know about the law, statutes, and commandments, you know. And that's what you read when you read in the book of Nehemiah, how they stood amongst the people and gave them the sense of the book. They gave them the understanding, and they read in the book distinctly, giving them the breakdowns, basically. Telling them about what? One of them would be the year of the release. The year of the release. But nonetheless, that's all I got for tonight. It's not a long class, but it's a class that needs to be discussed nonetheless. And I'm your brother Ananias for A.O.I, the Awakening of Israel. And this has been another class going over the year of release. And as always, we want to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai for the abundance of all things. We appreciate you brothers tuning in. Hit that like button when you get our opportunity. Make sure that you take notes, rewind the class if need be. You know, continue to read, continue to meditate. Most importantly, keep the commandments and have the faith in Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. But once again, brother Ananias for A.O.I, and I'm out. And I say shalom, shalom, peace and greetings to you all. It's been another Savory Sunday, and I hope you got the message. I'm out.